Hey, what's up? If you're watching this, it means you're interested enough in my work to watch this introduction and audio commentary for my first short film, Burnt by the Sun. I guess the reason why I'm doing this is because, I shot this over the period of a few months. And I had always thought for the longest time that, making a movie or making a short film or whatever was like this huge endeavor, in that, you needed these, resources and connections and collaborations in order to make a movie. And, if you want to do something on your own, something I think creative and inventive, you can do it with this DIY approach that is, I think, cost effective and accessible. For a long time leading up to the making of Burnt by the Sun, this all kind of started around the pandemic during lockdown. I was experimenting a lot with mixed media and found footage, just kind of editing these goofy videos together. I had started collecting Super 8 films from, different eBay stores and sellers who were just kind of getting rid of home movies from their families or what have you. Or someone would move in somewhere and they would find this, case of Super 8 films. And then they would just sell them on eBay to weirdos like me, and I would project them onto my wall and record them and kind of just make these little, interesting little short films and experiments with them. I was also making a lot of music videos too, and I hadn't really made anything that was very substantial, anything that was narrative based. So I started talking to Rodney Asher during the lockdown. I asked him if I could review his at the time new film, The El Duce Tapes. He made a documentary essay film about the infamous shock rock band, not the Dictators, the Mentors, and the very controversial lead singer El Duce. And he responded with, if you want to spend lockdown, he said, if you want to spend quarantine with El Duce, be my guest, with a link to the video. Needless to say, I reviewed the movie, and I sent him a thank you. And we kind of corresponded via Facebook Messenger for a while. So I would send him these little music videos I was making, and I made this video for the jazz group Soft Machine, their song As If, or Drop It, I think it's As If. And, it was neat. And he was like, hey, Alex, this is really cool. But, I think maybe you should, think about telling a story or something like that. And I told him, I was like, well, I have this idea for this, kind of paranoid, mixed media, pseudo-documentary thing about these, about big oil funding these, clandestine operations in Alaska, because I had this footage from, BP, about these weird military plants in Alaska. And then to that he responded, you should really check out Craig Baldwin. He's the GOAT, greatest of all time when it comes to, mixed media, pseudo-documentaries. So I got Tribulation 99 by Craig Baldwin, and that, knocked me the fuck out. It was just, the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And when I was thinking about making this kind of paranoid political pseudo-documentary, I realized that he beat me to it by over a decade, back in 1995, I want to say. Anywho, so that really got me going. So I sent Craig some of my stuff, and I was buying a lot of things from his website, othercinema.com, and he responded back hey, thanks for the support, cool shit, he's just a cool, awesome fucking dude. He's just someone I consider a mentor and a huge inspiration. So I sent him some of my stuff, and he said, this looks great. We showcase new filmmakers in the new showcase at his Other Cinema, NEW, standing for New Experimental Works. And if I wanted to make something for it, I would. And this is the catalyst for Burnt by the Sun. So I began, I got this little Super 8 camera for free, technically, off of Facebook Marketplace. Someone was selling a 16mm camera, and this was just kind of added in. And he said it didn't work, so I cleaned the corrosion off the batteries and threw some AA's in there, and it was working. So I realized, if I'm going to shoot film, I'm going to need to develop it, and developing it, again, seems like this whole endeavor that I can't do this on my own. And then, after watching some YouTube videos, I figured out that you could that one can develop film on their own with household chemicals. So I found this recipe of developing with beer and vitamin C powder, and it worked all right. I got 50 feet of Super 8 film developed, and then I started experimenting with other recipes and buying expired film, and I just kind of started cobbling this footage together. And I would splice it with the home movies that I collected from estate sales and what have you. Um, and I realized I could kind of cultivate a narrative around this, and that was kind of the turning point that brought me to make Burnt by the Sun. I tried to think about what kind of story that I would tell that would be scary, and the thing that I got to was that something that I find scary is religion, and the other thing I find even more scary is an invasion of privacy, which brings me to the idea of just somebody looking into your windows, of that kind of like very casual invasion of privacy that is, and that kind of got the ball rolling. The story had taken all these different directions. I had this really bad idea once about this town that gets ravaged by fire and these twins disappear, and it's this grotesque, ugly thing. And I'm glad I deviated from that. I was consulting with a friend of mine, Eleanor, who I think was in Italy at the time, and she was a good influence in kind of getting this story on track. So she gets a story credit definitely for that. Eleanor, if you're watching, thank you. And so I put this thing together, and I shot it myself, and I developed it myself, and I acted in a lot of the scenes, and it was an ordeal, it was a process, but it was worth it. And it was so hard to kind of confront this movie. It was like so really hard to watch it, because it's all me. That's me shooting, and that's me acting, that's me narrating, and it can be a really exhausting process. But at the end of the day, it's also a very rewarding one. I didn't think anything would come of it, and then I started submitting it to festivals, and it started getting in, and it continued to get in for a long time. It actually is still getting into some festivals. So at which point, if that's not a confidence booster, then I don't know what is, right? So, anywho, without any further ado, let's check out my first movie, Burnt by the Sun. Thanks for watching. Okay, here we go, Burnt by the Sun. I always like starting with a little bit of the projector going, just to kind of have some fun artifice, a la, like Bergman's Persona. Burnt. So the first time I cut this, there's probably 50 cuts of this movie. The font was like a 24 point, and I watched it, and I was like, something's not working. And it was because the font just was so small, it was so wimpy. And I realized that it's better to be bigger when it comes to images on screen. The intro there, I think, is just somebody had asked me what's my earliest. A lot of energy. That's the house I grew up in. I told them that. So this is from a science documentary about photosynthesis, and I've used this footage many times over. I was confused and upset. This woman is popped up in a lot of my movies. She was in this kind of like family's home movie collection, and she just has a very striking face. So I've used that footage quite a bit. That's just a piece of film that got stuck in my projector, and that's just a cool effect. If you've ever seen Two-Lane Blacktop, it's used quite brilliantly. This is from Halloween 1950-something, and this priest here, he was in this, I found these documentaries on 16mm, it was called, like, The Modern Christian World, and he has these, like, freaky Jim Jones glasses and this Foucault head, so he's just perfectly menacing looking. So this is another one of many old fucked up houses in my neighborhood, and I would just walk around with my camera, and I'd film stuff, and when we moved out to Lebanon, this place was, spooky eyes. This place was just, really kind of decrepit and kind of a bummer, to be honest. So I figured I should get something out of it. I started filming all these, abandoned houses. The windows to the apartment there, that's a dumpster at work. It was just dusty with pollen. I rubbed my hands around it. That's an actual Bible. So originally, the Burnt by the Sun were about these twins that you see here, and that there was this great fire that consumed this town, and these twins disappeared, and The grieving mother became attached to the priest, who I originally named Father Avery, and I didn't realize that's actually a very Jewish name. Luckily, my friend Eleanor talked me out of that, and we landed on the name Pastor Jessup. And it was this whole like really grim thing about this like grieving mother, and the father went mad with grief and was peering into people's windows, and it was just dark and just really ugly with nothing to it. I found this other story, the one that we're seeing here, based on some of my own experiences, and it came out much better. So I actually had to hang sheetrock at the apartment, and I figured I should film this. It could look cool. It could work into my next movie. I never had a narrative in mind for this film. Okay, so the gas can here, this is one of the few props that I actually bought for the movie. Those little gas cans cost a lot, actually. And this was actually based on something that actually happened in my hometown. Someone tried to commit suicide by self-immolation, and they survived, and actually went on to write a book about it, and are enjoying a very successful career as a writer. So, as Jerry Fialco would say, turning one of your breakdowns into a breakthrough. Back to the twins, I love these twins. There's just something kind of haunting about the way they run around. So one of my few rules is that the images have to be sourced from my library of 8mm, 60mm films, or something that I shot. Because home movies, people don't shoot them like professional films. People do what they're not supposed to. They look at the camera. Oh, that's creepy. I like that. Kind of looks like teeth. So that's like one of the cryptic notes, one of the creepy notes there, hidden in a tree. I wanted to get scenes I could shoot by myself. If I can hold a camera and film my hand in a tree, putting a letter in a tree, then I can put that in the movie. So that's a wig on top of a wooden statue on my bed. Oh, more twins. And the strobing from the camera's nice. This is one of the first times I made fake blood for a movie, and it was a little too thin. I've got a better blood recipe now. This was early stuff that I shot. Ooh, hey, look at that handsome guy, huh? Yeah, that's just a selfie. I'm just walking around with my Super 8 camera just pointed at me. I'm just bumbling around. This came out really nice. I just, I took a curtain from the window and I wrapped it around myself. And it just, the light was really light, but the contrast came out nice because the sheet was white, or the curtain was white. That's a brew house up the street from us, and it's got those great, terrible eyeball-looking Amityville windows. I remember that day I was particularly disturbed. See, the thing is that, like, the footage, when you pull it out of the camera and develop it's a negative. So, on its own, it's actually far more nightmare-inducing than anything here. I think what I'm doing in making these movies is that I'm actually kind of cushioning the blow of just kind of how creepy the raw and varnished image is when it's first projected from the film source. So yeah, I was driving to work and I saw a turtle, and I got out and filmed it, and I figured it would come in handy. I tried to make the writing as unlegible as possible. I didn't want I didn't want anyone to recognize anything. If I wrote scripture, it would just look like scripture. I wanted something completely unique. So this is from a talking doll commercial, and on its own, again, it's very terrifying. I think I've uploaded it onto my YouTube channel. That's the basement, my apartment. Hey, there's me again. So yeah, I just wanted to, this is the pretty intense scene here with the mirror image. I try not to use any more of the preset video effects, but this one I thought came out quite nice here. The music, I just was kind of winging it. Everything, a lot of this stuff is just happy accidents. That's from when I was putting up sheetrock. I sectioned off the dining room, and I just stuck my face behind it and let the camera roll. I thought it looked pretty cool. So yeah, that effect there, I just took the actual film strip and took a modeling knife and scraped the emulsion off, and that's it. That's the only strip of film with this footage on. So it's like going to be like that forever. In its film source, that is. So this is another modeling knife. This was shot on 8x8, not Super 8. I got a 8x8 camera, which shoots on a strip of 16mm film, but you have 2 exposures on it. So you shoot 25 feet, and then you turn the strip over and shoot the other 25 feet, develop it, and that strip of film has 2 exposures on one thing, and you have to splice it yourself. It sounds more complicated than it is. So those eyeballs are from a trailer for a Giallo film, Death Walks at Midnight. Hey, that's me scared in bed, just like a kid. It all goes back to childhood, you know? It's everything that scared the shit out of you as a kid. I mean, I think just what a lot of people forget about growing up is that, like, it's not about, like, being happy, sad, or whatever. It's just how scared were you? It's on a spectrum of how terrified you were. I love how easy that is. A hand in a window can just be so terrifying. And there actually was a peeper in my neighborhood, a guy who peeped into people's windows, and I don't know if he actually peeped into my window. I honestly feel like he did. Whether or not he did or not is, I guess, irrelevant. The damage is done, as you can see. You're watching the movie, so it must have had some effect. I love that image of the bench. It reminds me of Jack Clayton's The Innocents, which is one of my favorite films ever made. This is expired Kodachrome. It has this remjet layer, and when you process it as a black and white, you get this like burning orange sepia, and it's just glowing. It's just shimmering. I love that. This isn't. There's no effect here. This is just film in action. Just like this throbbing, strobing light. It's so intense and unreal. I love it so much. Oh, more scary eyes. That's a bar next to the restaurant where I work. Churches again. Churches and religion is something that always terrify me. They're beautiful and scary, so it's just hard not to go back to them. So that's just me looking like a woman. I hope. I guess I'm looking like a woman there. Yeah, that's the same curtain. That's in reverse. Spooky, right? That's from an early release Scott film. Now there I go, twirling about again. This always reminds me of the intro to American Horror Story. One of these days I'm going to direct one of the season introductions. That's from a William Castle movie. I have the trailer on 16mm. Oh, hand over the face. Waving around across. So yeah, I took all these just grungy tools. There's like a butterfly knife and modeling knives and a keyhole saw. Just chucked in this bucket. Yeah. So this music, if you want to call it that, this kind of rhythmic chanting, it's inspired by the end of Apocalypse Now. Whenever I remember that ending when the Doors are playing and they're cutting up the ox, like I always think of this like rhythmic like chanting, da, 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 and that's just how. Maybe it's synesthesia, but like the way I remember it looking is how I hear it, if that makes any sense. So pretty simple effect. I just poured soy sauce into water and filmed it just kind of rippling out. Yeah, there's me with a knife again. Just blood coming from a fist. I love that. It's very, very simple, very gothic. So just held a camera up to my open mouth with a flashlight pointing at it and got this cool effect. Holy shit. We're flying all over the place. I think, yeah, just, scrawled things and on my walls, my apartment. I still have that cross, actually. It might be collectible someday. There we go. More eyeballs. Maybe I'm thinking of Salvador Dali. Yeah, wow, this is creepy. All right. Maybe I made something kind of good. Yeah, I've watched this like 50 times, right? And still finding little surprises in there. It's a little more grainy, actually. Like grainy and bad digital, not grainy film. Of course, the film's grainy. Oh, I love that girl following us. Very creepy. It's all about, I guess how much mileage you can get from this footage, right? Now, that just looks like shit. Ooh, there's the hand again. Yeah, it was a very troubling incident, because I remember... Oh, that's creepy. I remember a friend of mine telling me about this schizophrenic guy in the neighborhood looking into his window as a child, and he had this very, like, blasé response to it, and I was like, Jesus Christ, how are you not... It's terrifying. See, he's wearing the glasses there. Before he wasn't. Sometimes the window peeper isn't and is wearing glasses to kind of mirror the effect of the priest there. I became obsessed with this idea of somebody overcoming something by stabbing the shadow of what's pursuing them. And I think that's a very corollary for something like this, is that kind of a symbolic overcoming of fears, is that you might not be able to, penetrate or attack something directly, but you can attack its shadow, and if you kill the shadow, you can overcome it. I know, that's deep now that I say it out loud. I love this effect. It was another home movie, this lady walking towards the camera, and I just like this burning sun behind her. And there she is in color. She gets to be in color at the end, because it's we're awake now. And we see color, right? A lot of mommy baggage. Here. Yeah, look, I love that smile. It's just beautiful. Oh, there it is. Burnt by the Sun. That's the name of the movie. Cool. Now the music sounds really cool here. If you've made it this far, thank you. This has been fun. Yeah, there's more stuff. Yeah, geez, Eleanor Finley, she did a lot here. Talked me out of a lot of bad ideas. Rodney, Craig, Matt, Eleanor, and of course Nora will always get special accommodations in my any and every of my movies. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.